This week on the Baseline Podcast, Josh and I are back to talk about some more college football, as we've been doing over the last few weeks, and we're going to talk about the college football quarterfinals and the semifinals. We're going to break down all the quarterfinal games. We're going to talk about what each team did to win, what each team did to lose, and then talk about these matchups and what does it take for Ohio State, Penn State, Texas, or Notre Dame to go to the national title. And then we also break down the playoff matchups for the NFL and what happened to the Browns and where do they go next. All that and so much more coming up on the Baseline Podcast.
Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of the Baseline Podcast. I'm Ben, that's Josh, and we are back. Happy New Year, everyone. It's 2025. Josh, how was your New Year? And can you really believe it's 2025 already? It's just wild to think about that, you know, we're a quarter of the way through the century. It's kind of weird.
Yeah. Even more important, Ben. What was it? 4 years ago on the day that we're recording, we had the big freak out over nothing too. So it's, a monumental year for multiple reasons. But
It's true.
only a few Americans might know what I'm talking about. But
Yes,
anyway,
that's
yeah,
true.
New Year was great over here. Rang in the New
awesome.
Year with some friends New Year's Eve. Watched some playoff games with some friends on the actual New Year's Day, the college games, which we'll be talking about today. But currently, Ben, we're under a bunch of snow. No snow in Hungary, I guess, but Ohio got hammered, and
Oh,
I
no.
know some people
Oh,
further south in Ohio that got up to 10 inches.
yeah, I mean, like we were talking before we started recording that Cedarville closed today, which if you don't know, Cedarville University is where Josh and I went to college, and there's always this running joke that if Cedarville closes, then the weather has to be like gonna kill you because they just never close classes, cancel classes, nothing. Um, I think it was like it's only been twice in the last like 10 years or something like that they've closed, and that was when I was there, and then today. Um, as we're recording this. But no, yeah, there is no snow here. I mean, if you go probably to the outskirts or in the hills, there's probably some snow, maybe, but really there hasn't been. It's a little too warm right now for there to be snow. But it's interesting because I start football this week, and usually what happens, I've realized the last 2 years when I start football is the weather decides just to get like stupid cold. So that's probably what's going to happen starting tomorrow. I have this funny feeling, but yeah, it was a good New Year's here. They tend to just set off fireworks here in the city. Just people get fireworks and just start firing them up in the air. So, you know, it's always fun on
Nice.
New Year's Eve and that sort of thing. But no, same
Yeah.
for me. I watched the games and really enjoyed my break.
Yeah. I had the whole last week of the month that bled into the first few days of January off work too, just the way that
That's nice.
our holidays off just fell on the days that I normally would work, led to 7 straight
Yeah,
days
yeah,
off.
yeah.
So that was nice.
There you
Got
go.
a lot of sleep, slept about 10 to 11 hours every day, but I was ready to have some structure in my life again this weekend when
Oh
we
yeah,
went back. But
that's true.
yeah, so we have in the college football playoff, Ben, a Final
Yeah.
Four now. This weekend,
Mhm.
well, I should say Thursday and Friday, we're going to see Texas versus Ohio State. We're going to see Notre Dame versus
Yeah.
Penn State. What that means is
So
that none of
weird.
the first round bye teams made it to the Final Four. It means that we're going to have a head coach win his first national championship no matter what. And the
And I
other
believe that
thing
all
interesting,
four coaches, all four coaches were ones that were told that they suck and they can never coach the big one. I just think that's
yeah, they
also
can
funny
never win the
too.
big one. Well, one of them is going to win the big one. Eventually, when Nick Saban retires and you can eliminate Kirby Smart and there's only even two active coaches right now that have even won an Eddie anyway, so it was bound to happen eventually. It was always a
Yeah,
silly
of course.
conversation about all these guys. Like eventually they're going to win one. But
Yeah.
the other thing I thought was interesting was that none of the four teams that had a bye were even favored in Vegas to win their games. So
No.
just goes to
No.
just goes to show it wasn't that they got the wrong teams in. It
Seeding
was that
sucks,
the
man.
seeds
Seeding
the seeds
sucks.
were all screwed up, and we've had that conversation multiple times. It's like beating a dead horse at this point. But those are
No, yeah.
just I guess setting the stage right now for the Final Four that we got. Is there any team, Ben, that you'd say you're surprised to see here, or
Yes,
anything
Penn
else about
State.
the field? General
Penn
thoughts.
State.
Penn State. You're surprised about Penn State
100%.
with SMU and Boise State the easiest
No, no, no.
path to
I'm
get
not
there?
okay. No, I'm not talking about the path. I'm talking about if I look at this team, right, and I look at their coach, right, and I know we just talked about coach that like he didn't show anything. Like I knew with Elise Freeman, he had shown some big games. We'd seen what Ryan Day, we'd seen what Sark, but it was with Franklin. It's like I don't know what I'm getting. Now, I don't. I think that the path, dude. I would have loved if Ohio State had this path, but you know, I I'm I'm a little surprised with Notre Dame just because they can't throw the ball like worse than Penn State. Like
We learned that
they
this
can't
weekend,
throw the
if you did
ball.
not know, this last
Like they
weekend. Yeah,
can't throw the ball at all. Um, yeah, so those are the big surprising things. And if we look back at these games, these past games, there was one outlier I think from all the games, and that's is if you can play some good defense and you can just if you can get a lead and play good defense, you most likely win the game unless your team is named Texas. Um, because I think generally it goes back to the old adage, and I think we lose that in this modern day of football is that defense wins championships, and it's true. If you don't have a good defense, it's LSU's the last team where I look and go, their offense was so good that their defense didn't need to be good. That's the last team I look at and go, their defense wasn't that good. And so for me, that's really what kind of outlied over these games this past weekend.
I got you. Yeah, I guess in terms of the way that we've been picking games, Texas, as you know, I picked them to lose in the first round, so that's, I
Yeah.
guess, a surprise in a way. But as far as like the talent roster and stuff, yeah, Penn State, I guess, seems like the team that you'd be surprised. But given all the paths, I am surprised that Notre Dame was able to get past Georgia too. It was a really fun game to watch, and we'll get to it. But we'll work chronologically here, starting with Boise State and Penn State, Ben,
Yeah.
which wasn't very well. It was close at times in the third quarter. I think it was as close as 3 points, but Penn State ends up winning, I think, 31-14 or 31-16 was the final. As predicted, Ashton had a rough way to go. He did get his. I think he
Yeah.
did finish with over 100, but it was just like a 3.5 per carry average. And Penn State's defense really made him earn it. There's a handful of runs you can see where he's dragging multiple guys or having to just put the whole team on his
Yeah.
back. And when you take 30 carries or however many he had, and you're only getting like normal production, not what we're used to seeing
Yeah.
from Genty, getting like 7 yards a carry, 200 yards, like it forces you to pass, and Boise State wasn't able to do that. But Penn State's offense took advantage of some good field position, I think, at times. The defense was solid, as I said, shut down the Heisman runner-up, relatively speaking, and come out with a win. They're here in the Final Four now. What did you see in the game or thoughts on Penn
Yeah,
State's
I mean,
performance?
I think Penn State showed that well, I think for first Penn State showed that group of five teams will never this isn't like Boise State versus Oklahoma. Like we're in a modern age of football, and yes, you have Ash and Genty, but it showed like they have nothing else, like nothing offensively. Um, it also kind of showed me, I think, that Penn State's going to have to rely on that defense to just keep them in a game. And Abdul Carter supposedly is questionable, which if he doesn't play,
Mm,
that changes a lot of things for that defense.
it
Um,
does.
But I mean, they run the ball well. But we've known this, right? We've known that Penn State runs the ball well. We saw them against Ohio State when they couldn't run the ball. They they really sucked. They didn't play well, and that's why this game versus Notre Dame, which I know we'll preview it, it's really weird to me because it's like two teams that can't throw the ball, and it's just basically going to be who somewhat throws the ball, right? And so um, yeah, I'm interested to see how that goes. But no, going to Boise State, like Ashton Genty, like hats off. Like obviously he didn't get Barry Sanders' record, and one of the things I was kind of glad he didn't because I think you'd just have people saying, "Oh, he had 16 games or whatever he would have had, 14 games," and I think that would have really put an asterisk with it. Like I'm glad he didn't get it just for the fact that we didn't have to always try to prove that he was the best, and that record is the best. So, but again, hats off. I mean, the dude ran for 100 yards every single game. He's going to be an NFL back. I kind of hope the Browns get him, but you know, again, yeah. So that's kind of my thoughts on the game.
Yeah, yeah. The original Fiesta Bowl people point to Boise State versus Oklahoma. A one-time
Like that's so far
game
ago.
like that can definitely happen, but the thing that for any of these like supposed Cinderella teams, G5 teams, or teams that really don't belong here now, like getting into the Final Four originally was your best path. Win two games. Asking
Which
someone to
I
win
still think
three or
it's
four
funny
of
that
those,
the final four is literally like blue bloods. Like I just think it's so funny to me.
all
Like
blue bloods. Yeah,
we try to do this to make it even, and yet the four teams are the blue bloods of this freaking the era of football, which is just
yeah.
hilarious.
Like if we would have seeded the teams like normal, 1 to 4, I think that yes, Texas would have been in. I think that Notre Dame would have been in, and depending on how far they wanted to drop Penn State after losing to Oregon, maybe they're out. But and then Georgia, SEC champ with 2 losses, they might get in too. But yeah, it's basically just teams that like you'd be like, yeah, not a shocker. These are some of the best teams in college football, like perennial powerhouses. So we'll see what happens. Maybe we need to let 16 teams in, Ben, or 25 teams. I
Oh,
don't know.
stop. Just stop. No. Just no. At that point, we might as well just play until March.
Yeah, scrap the regular season. The regular season is only playoff
I mean, let's
games.
be honest.
Play
Let's
until you
start the
lose.
season. Let's start the season in early August, finish by the end of December, and that way when January 1st hits, the transfer portal can start and you don't have all this crap that goes on in December.
Oh,
That's what we should be
100%.
doing.
Teams at full strength would love that. Um, Moving into New Year's Day, we got it kicked off with Texas and Arizona State, Ben. And the deal with Texas is
Their
they can
defense is
start
not
off.
good.
I
I'm
think the
kidding.
defense is good,
I'm just saying that
but
they can't. They're very susceptible to a lot of mistakes. I
they
think.
were they were very beat up. A lot of the podcast world is saying that Texas, they're hearing that Texas defense feels like they went through a war. But the way that the game went was very much like how I've seen Texas other times this year. When it's on a script, uh, everything's
They're
going good. They
fine. Yeah,
start off hot.
they're
They
good.
look like clearly the better team on the field,
Yeah,
but as the game goes on, you're just like, why are they only up by like
that, and that's
7, 10 points right now?
yeah.
Like they're so much better than Arizona State. But I mean, this game went to overtime. We had the controversial no call
That
targeting,
was
which
targeting. That was a
we can
targeting
talk about.
100%.
By the book, it was, but I'll go a little further along in my thoughts on that. But in this game, I mean, we talked about how Boise State probably didn't belong. I think Arizona State proved that
No, they
they
did. They
they
belonged.
were one of those
Yeah.
teams that, like, if we were picking 12, they absolutely belong, and if we even picked 8 teams, maybe they belonged. But yeah, Arizona State
Cam
heated
Scadaboo's
up
a
at the regular
dude, by the way.
season. Yeah,
He's a
yeah,
dude.
Cam, I'm glad they gave him the MVP for this game. They definitely
Yeah.
made Texas sweat, but they come out with the win in double overtime or whatever it was. The Longhorns did, and they survive. So yeah,
Yeah.
I think you have some things
No,
you wanted to say.
no, I just think that when you take Texas off their script, it's not like Ohio State or it's not like um even like Oregon when Oregon actually kind of was the same way. We'll talk about that, but when like for instance like Ohio State gets off script, they can survive. They have enough weapons. With Texas, you saw what happened, man. Like once Arizona State started stuffing the run, Texas kind of goes,
Yeah,
wait,
Texas could
what
not
are we
run the
supposed to
ball.
do? You know? And so for me, this is where I kind of come with this game is that, Arizona State, yeah, proved it. And honestly, if that's a targeting call, Texas loses this game. And now we're talking about Arizona State versus Ohio State. And I have friends that are Texas fans and they are terrified of what just happened. They said because now this has exposed everything that they didn't want to show defensively. And also their two offensive tackles, which by the way are going to be top first round picks. Both
Yeah,
of them are
Banks and
injured and
Williams.
they're not 100% right now. So now you're saying that they're got to go their next game is against JT Tumalau and Jack Sawyer, and that's who you're gonna have to
Yeah,
face
Ohio
every
State's I
every
think
single round.
second or third in the nation in sacks per game.
Yeah, yeah. So for me, it's one of those things where I think Arizona State proved they got to be here. Cam Scadaboo is everything that we think he is. And I think Arizona State's 1 year too early. I think next year they're going to be very, very good. But again, Texas, man, Quinn Ewers, he's once again showed, and Josh, we have said this for 2 years on this show. Quinn Ewers is he's not a top five QB draft. Like what I mean is like top five QB, I think, in the
No,
draft.
I
He's going to
even
get,
as bad
he'll
as
get,
this quarterback class is, I'd take other guys over
oh,
him
but this
probably.
is what I'm saying though, is he'll still get drafted in that because of his name, because of who he is. But
1.0.
for me, it's just, I don't like, I just look at that offense and I go like, and also their defense couldn't stop anything, and Ohio State has double the athletes that Arizona State has. So I'm interested to see. We'll talk about that game in a second. But going back to the targeting call, I agree with you. It shouldn't like this. It's a game of football. It's a violent sport. We should not even be worrying about this. Like I'm so done with targeting. They're taught from a young age how to tackle now. They're not going out and viciously hitting people. But if it is in the rules, call it. That's the way I stand. If it's in the rules, you call it. If you want to remove it, then let's do that. I'm for that. But in this sense, you have to call it the way it is. And I read the rule over and over again, and it is very evident that was targeting. And now you're in a weird spot for Arizona State for sure.
Yeah, I'm torn on it because I hate the rule and I hate when games like get altered
Yeah.
by the book, even targeting call. It's
And
like we need to just change
the
the
refs
rule.
didn't want to blow it. They didn't want to. The refs didn't want to put it on their shoulders. Let's be
Yeah,
honest.
which that gets to the other side here is I kind of liked it that the refs decided to let the game like be the game and let the teams decide.
No,
And
I agree,
it
but
wasn't anything vicious, it wasn't anything
no,
intentional,
but
but if we're
yeah,
going by the book, like we've seen by the book calls like Sean Wade for Ohio State
because
in 2019 or
yeah,
many other times where it's like, yeah, I mean it is by the book. I hate the rules, so like change the rule and they
it,
never changed the rule. So
it's the
in
same
that
way. It's the
instance,
same
like
way.
as a fan, I'm of neither team. I'm like, good. They let the players decide it on the field. And if I'm an Arizona State fan though, I am frustrated. I'm angry
Well,
about that.
well, it's the same. Like what I got angry about the Ohio State Georgia game. Remember when Marvin Harrison got clocked and it was obvious targeting, but nothing was called, and it changed that game. Right? It changed the way that whole game went. So look, I'm, if you don't want to call it, fine, but then make that equal for every game because so many fan bases are like angry. Just the fact that like, wait a minute, you called this in our game, it costs us, and like then now there's this pull and tug, and you got to figure out what to do.
Yeah. Well, Texas moves on, and they are going to face the winner of the Rose Bowl, which is
This was
Ohio
so
State.
fun, man. Oh, this was so
What
fun.
what a game.
Oh,
We
this was
were
so fun, man.
we wanted this rematch like ever since they
Oh, this
played in
is
the regular
awesome.
season, and Oregon wins on their home field by one. This game did not go anything like the
Oh,
first
this is
one.
so awesome.
Just one stat, for example, zero sacks in the first game for Ohio State, but they got to Gabriel 8 times this second game. The rushing disparity was like 191 to Ohio State, negative 23 for Oregon. Uh, it's another game where it's just like Ohio State looks totally different. It makes you scratch your head about how Michigan like ever got a win over this team, or honestly, even how Oregon was able to win by one the first time, or where this Ohio State team has been all year long. I I don't know, but either way, Ohio State crushes. It was up 34 to nothing at some point. They used all the weapons that Chip Kelly had. A buddy of mine, maybe you'll get a kick out of this. Buddy of mine, we're texting throughout the game. And I'm like, what is going on here? And he's like, I like to think that Chip Kelly uh, just got fed up with hearing all the fans say, you got all these weapons. Why don't you just throw deep to them? Like you got Jeremiah Smith, Mecca Buka. Why don't you just throw deep to them? And he's like, you know what? I'm an offensive play caller. I've been doing this for so long. I'm smarter than all these fans. You know what? I'll dumb down to their level though and see what happens. And then it just works. And he's just like,
Yeah.
what's going on here? You mean I can just like throw deep to Jeremiah Smith or just put the ball generally in his direction and it's going to work? Like I've been trying to scheme these guys open and it turns out like when your wide receivers are just literally better than everyone's corners across the field or across the country, you don't need to scheme guys open. They're just always open.
Well, look, I have it this way. Well, two things. First off, you need to get corners that are taller than 5'9". If you look at Oregon's corners, they're all like 5'9". Like, I'm sorry, that's not getting anywhere nowadays. And also, Jeremiah Smith is such a freak that man threw on triple coverage. He goes up and grabs that bad boy and comes down. And by the way, when he stands next to people, he looks like a non-human. Like he's just massive. And that first touchdown, when I saw that first touchdown, I'll tell you, I was sitting right at this desk. I was watching the game, and I'm like, it's over. Like I thought from that moment, like they can't figure out a simple, the simple motions, right? And um, the fact that Will Howard got redemption and he probably had his best game as a Buckeye.
I think he had over
Um,
200 yards in just
to,
his second quarter or
yeah,
whatever.
to see Ryan Day get this win and look, I've I'm very cautious when I pick a high state in bowl games because they've just not always been successful. But I've never been so confident about this team. Like that defense, by the way, this is the defense. I mean, to be honest, again, we never said that they blamed them for Michigan. That the defense played great since that Oregon game. This defense has been the defense we thought they were going to be. This offense, you know what happened? This is what happened, Josh. Ryan Day goes, Chip, you handle the run game, right? Obviously, I'm not very good at that. I'm going to handle, and Brian Hartline and I are going to give you ideas for the pass game, but you're calling the game, and then that's what happened. It was Ryan Day finally saying, "Chip, you're a genius. Why don't you go ahead and do what you can do?" And when you have these weapons, like I think Kirk Herbstreit said it best, like it was the play on the Travion Henderson 66-yard counter play where he ran for a touchdown. He goes, you have to defend Jeremiah Smith and Emeka Ibuka, and then you got to deal with this when you come down to try to make a tackle. Like he made the point for me, like this team when they're cooking on all cylinders and when they you can't stop them. Like it's the only way they stopped them was because like they decided to just to pull off the gas a little bit at the end of the game and didn't really go 100% at the end, trying to save guys for whatever. But I mean, think about it. This team was beating who we all thought was the number one team in the country. They said, no, we're going to beat you 24-0 to start the game. 24-0 within the first quarter. And to me, it's just like, and I know we'll preview the Texas game. This is just scary because, like, you shut down the run game. Okay. You have Carnell Tate, Emeka Ibuka, Jeremiah Smith, G. Scott. Like, okay, you stop down the pass game. Okay, you have like two of the best running backs in the country. The offensive line somehow figured it out while we're rotating six dudes. It's just weird, but go for it. And look, Gabriel looked distraught. I've never seen him look so distraught. They were dropping into coverages. Caleb Downs was playing linebacker at one point. They brought Ransom at like defensive end. Like it was like the weirdest things. Gabriel sitting back there going, what is happening? Like I have no idea what's going on. And to me, Dan Lanning, hats off to Dan Lanning. I love him, like just hearing him talk and but his team was obviously not ready to play. And yeah, that's my thoughts.
They could have been ready. They just could have been expecting the team that we saw
100%.
most of the regular season. And
Yeah.
I mean, I gotta say this about Ohio State. Even in losses, like in 2019 Clemson or 2022 Georgia, or
Yeah.
Ohio State's always seemed to bring their A game in the playoffs. It's just when they lose, it's because the other team was better.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
right now, I mean the expanded playoff from 14 to 12, it was never going to allow, as we said, a team like Boise State to ever win a natty. All it was going to do was allow a team like Ohio State that on a year like
Survive.
this year would have been on the outside looking in a chance to like redeem themselves and make a run and right some of those mistakes that they had in the regular season. And maybe if it would have been a 14 playoff, we would have seen this intensity from Ohio State because you can't have multiple games where you don't bring it or you're gonna
Yeah.
get screwed. You're not gonna be in the
Well,
playoff. And
I I do think it's ironic, and Kirk Herbstreit said this, that like the first playoff, Ohio State, what they do, they got on a roll. They beat Wisconsin by 50.
yeah.
They got on a roll, and it's the same thing that's happening now. The new playoff version, and what happens? Ohio State goes on a roll. It's like really weird. It's like a weird, ironic thing, but it's just Ryan Day for some reason, man. When he gets to the playoffs, it's like all the burdens are gone, and he's just like, screw it. I'm gonna just coach this game how I see it, and I'm confident. I'm a little weary that maybe they let this get to their heads, but I don't think they will because this team is just so confident. I think they're going to be fine.
Yeah. So, final day. This was initially going to be the evening game on New Year's Day, but it got
Oh
pushed
yeah.
back
Also
because
prayers,
of
by
all
the
the
way,
stuff that
to yeah,
went on in New
prayers
Orleans.
to them.
Yeah, the truck and the crash or run into people and
Yeah.
or driving into people and the shooting afterward and all that. But bad enough that it moves the game one day. Uh, yeah, on January 2nd it was Notre Dame comes out against Gunnar Stockton,
Oh,
backup quarterback for
just
Georgia,
beat
making
the
his first
snot out
start.
of him.
Yeah, I thought at times Stockton made some good throws. I just
Yeah.
wasn't really sure what Georgia's plan was in this. And
It looked like did it not look like they were just like drawing stuff on a board. Like I just felt like they were like they didn't know what they were going to do. They just decided to like start drawing plays on a board.
yeah, like they,
That's
they
what I
had a
felt like.
bye. They had all this extra time to game plan, to get ready. And I mean, I got to tip my hat to Marcus Freeman. Like Notre Dame and
Oh
like
yeah.
all areas like seem to outcoach Kirby. Like
The
even
fake
with the
punt, the
subbing,
fake punt
the fake
thing.
punts,
Yeah.
subbing 11, like the way that they would go after punts, the way that they're opportunistic, not trying to make the game all Riley Leonard. Like trust your strengths, make it all about
Let's
the
be honest. It
run,
was all
field
Riley Leonard. They'd
position,
probably lose.
special teams. Yeah. Special teams, like coaches say, three phases of the game, offense, defense, special teams. Like Notre Dame crushed it on the special teams level too. I thought Notre Dame was the better team going in this game. I trusted the Georgia brand more, the experience in moments like this,
They
and
don't have wide receivers, by the way. Georgia has
they don't.
zero wide receivers. How are you
Notre Dame's
you
kind
can
of the same
recruit
way.
anyone, you can recruit anyone in the country if you're Georgia, and somehow they never have receivers. Like they recruit all these amazing talented guys in every position and except receiver, and it's like they don't know how to recruit a receiver like at all. Like
Yeah,
it's
like
it's
the one
so
year that
crazy.
like they did that one year was A.D. Mitchell and Jermaine Burton, and then they both
Yeah.
transferred out because they didn't want to play
Yeah.
with Stetson Bennett. They didn't believe in him. So I
It's just
got me,
it's
but
wild.
here we
They
are.
have they have a white running back, Cash Jones. That's what I like that guy.
Yeah, backing up ETN, but Notre Dame gets it done, Ben, and
Yeah.
I'd be scared of them, even with the limitations they have passing the football around.
That defense is
Like
good.
it is, it's legit, and it reminds me a lot of how like the team as a whole about how Michigan would play football when they won the Natty, with how they like
And even
to run
Alabama, like old
first.
Alabama too. Old Alabama
Yeah,
is what it
old
reminds me
Alabama
of.
run first, strong on the offensive line. They make special teams a
Can't throw the ball to
priority.
save their life.
Yeah, yeah. So to Notre Dame's credit, like most of the year, they've been getting a lead and they've been able to hold it with this style of play. I would be curious if they ever had to get in like a shooting match with somebody, how that would go, or if they would stay true to who they are. But yeah, in this game, like flat out, Notre Dame owned it, man.
Yeah. Yeah, it was a good game and again, like you said, I mean I did dittos to everything you said. Like I not much else to add other than Notre Dame just made Georgia look like a little kid on a
Yeah,
playground. And I also say this, you know what happens when you finally allow NIL to be legal and you can actually pay players and stuff? Have you noticed how it's starting to slowly lower the SEC's prowess over everyone else? I'm just from a just not saying anybody cheated. I'm not saying no one's ever cheated in the SEC. Never, never. We're always fair. But I just think it's very interesting how the SEC is just not necessarily the same as it once was. And I love how the Big Ten is just slowly rising to the occasion. Just saying. Not going to add anything more specific there, but just thought I'd say that.
we'll find out if this was just a one-off year, but I think
Uh
to that
huh.
point, it just what is real though is that Georgia does not have the depth that they once
No,
did
no.
because
I don't think Kirby ever figured out the whole like NIL, how to retain guys. Like I think what Ryan Day does great is that he says, "Hey, we'll give you some money, but you know, to be honest with you, develop." I don't know how much Kirby goes like develop, develop, develop. Defensively, yes, but offensively, I don't know what they are telling their guys there, to be honest.
yeah, depth at Alabama too. Like, are we ever gonna see like just a consistent like the running back rooms with like four future first round picks on them or wide
No,
receiver
I
rooms
don't
with
think so.
five
No.
future first round picks on them? These guys all want to play, and that is
And yet
something that
somehow
like is
Brian
definitely
Hartline
real
can
right now.
contain all of them.
Yeah.
Brian-
I was wondering about that like this year, like since Jeremiah made the jump, and I know you guys were initially excited about Brandon Ennis, but I mean it's been Egbuka, Tate, and Smith. Like he's been the odd man out,
No,
kind of.
he said no, but he's like the biggest supporter of Brian Hartline and of Ryan Day. Like he's always and like he has no inclination. All the scoop people I know I've listened to, he's actually one that's probably going to get the next reps because Carnell Tate will move up to Ibuka's spot, and then obviously Ibuka being gone to the draft now that allows
Hmm.
Ennis to step in.
Yeah,
So
that'll
I
open
don't
up
see
at
him
least
going.
next year.
Yeah,
Yeah, but at least this year you would have thought that guy might have been making an impact already. But Smith just was that freaking good, and
yeah,
Egbuka came back. But
yeah.
yeah, the depth is definitely lacking over there, not what it used to be, and it is I think gonna force some of these guys to adapt. The other thing that I really loved about Kirby post game was when he talked about that substituting 11 for 11.
Yeah.
It ended up drawing Georgia offsides and Notre Dame ended up getting a first down. But he's like, I was told by our SEC head of officials that that's illegal. And I'm just like, man, you guys think that you can just play football the way you did at the SEC and
Yeah.
get like, your little freebies and your little, unwritten rules thrown to you. But when you come and everybody plays by the book, it just doesn't go your way like that. And he got community noted on Twitter, like for being wrong about that. And it was just great.
Well, no, I think to be honest with you, like what bothers me is that at these SEC schools, have you noticed who's the loudest, by the way, after all the games? It's not the Big Ten schools. It's not the ACC schools.
Lane
It's not the
Kiffin's
Big
still
12
talking.
schools. It's the SEC. And what frustrates me, Josh, is the SEC has run the country in football. They've won championships. They've done that. But people forget that before like 2002, it was the Big Ten and the Pac-12 and the Big Ten at the time, or the Big 12, I guess. Big 12, Big Ten,
Yeah,
and
that
Pac-12.
SEC run
That would,
really, I think, started when Urban Meyer made Florida like that
yeah.
speed team,
But
and
that's what
people
I'm saying
started
is that
catching on.
they forget that they're not like this whole name that everyone like. It used to be just Big Ten, Pac-10. Like those were the two conferences that everyone
USC went three
competed
straight
with.
natties. Ohio State would win natties. Miami
Oh
won
yeah,
some natties. Michigan was tough. Texas was
yeah.
tough.
So I just my anger is that like they don't shut up. Like Lane Kiffin, I'm sorry. If you were in the playoff, you would have got your butt smacked. Like he's like saying they would have replaced Tennessee. I'm like, Ohio State would have ran all over you. Like
Yeah, I'm
you're
not
not
basing a
that good.
performance they had against Duke without
No, Duke
even
sucked.
Malik Murphy
They
playing.
had no
Like
one.
the bowl results entirely. Like people are
And
pointing even.
also them throwing for a touchdown at the end. Don't tell me that he didn't know what he was doing. He went to apologize. I'm like, Stop, dude. You knew exactly like the play you gave. There was obviously an option to throw, like just take a knee or just run the ball at the handoff. Like that bothered me too. To be honest with you, that really rubbed me the wrong way. Like you've been saying all this crap on Twitter, and then all of a sudden now you just want to go and do that. Like, all right, cool. You do
Yeah,
you. You do
the
you,
bowl
Lane.
results, whether they're in favor of a conference or not, I just really don't take them seriously because these teams just aren't at full strength. Like I'm
No.
not gonna say that's how Duke would
It's
have
not like when
played
we were
if
kids, Josh. It's not
Malik
like when we were
Murphy
kids
would have been
when it
playing.
mattered.
Yeah,
Like when we were
yeah, and
kids,
some
it
teams
mattered.
sit guys out, some teams like got their full team, and it's
That's
important
why
to
I will
them.
give
But
credit to Dion. Dion told his players. Now, people don't realize that, oh, he did great by keeping all his players together. I'm like, yeah, because he got an insurance policy that was out the wazoo. Like, that's
which
the
is
only
cool.
reason
I'm
they
glad
played.
that Colorado is not Colorado. Shador and Hunter don't play in that game either.
Oh, no, no, for sure. For sure.
So I'm
Shall
glad
we
that they
preview these
like
games, by
finished
the
off.
way? Let's
Yeah,
preview
we
these
are all
games.
done now. So we got Ohio State and Texas, Ben, and
Yeah,
that's on
easy.
Friday. So we'll start with the Thursday game, Notre Dame and Penn State. Teams
Yeah.
that are similar, strong defense, really good at stopping the run.
Terrible passing.
Prefer to run on offense, yes. I think though, if you were to pick a quarterback, it'd be like unanimously Drew Aller between Drew Aller
Oh,
and Riley
yeah,
Leonard.
for sure.
And I wonder if that could be the difference here. It's just having like if all things are either close or equal, if the quarterback is the guy that could swing it a certain way. But I'm gonna go the other way and say that coaching in this game is going to be the difference of the game. And after what I saw
Mhm.
Marcus Freeman do to Kirby Smart, and still my doubts about James Franklin in moments like this, I also wonder if since Penn State's had the easiest path up to this point, if once they finally have to play like a strong team, if it's gonna like blow up in their face. And there's still like that thought that Penn State lost to all the teams that they were or that were better than them, Oregon and Ohio State this year. Notre Dame's the first team in this playoff that they're gonna face that's better than them. And between that, the coaching, I'm gonna lean slightly Notre Dame, but I will caveat that with if Penn State somehow is able to get a lead like 10-0 at some point, I'm really curious how Notre Dame's going to respond to that. But I'm leaning Notre Dame in this one.
Yeah, yeah, man. It's tough for me, but I've been able to see Penn State a lot this year, and I don't trust Franklin, man. I know that sounds crazy after these two wins, but again, like you said earlier, he hasn't really beat anybody.
The pressure was
And
on, like you got to win these,
yeah,
like to prove at least that
and
you were the third best in the Big
and
Ten.
I think Freeman's been coaching great, and so I'm really leaning towards Notre Dame here, and partly because one of my really good friends here, he's a Notre Dame fan, and here in
Hmm.
Hungary, and it would just be so phenomenal to like just have that, that chance of that happening. Um, but yeah, I'm going to go lean Notre Dame. I'm going to say it's low scoring though, because I just don't think any offense is really going to happen. I'm going to say Notre Dame wins this like 17-13. It's just going to be like a gross, ugly slugfest. Is basically how it's going to be. That's what I think
Yeah,
at least.
feeling even better about the Notre Dame pick if Abdul Carter in fact does not play. But yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
I'm
yeah,
leaning like Notre Dame 20-17. Yeah, I think it'll be a very similar final score to what we saw with Georgia and Notre Dame with
yeah.
the lower scores. I don't think that anyone's going to really make too many mistakes in this game either. So maybe a one turn if one team can force a turnover, that could really swing things too. But yeah, I like Notre Dame in this one.
Yeah. I think it's just easy pick right now.
Yeah, I'm actually gonna go ahead and check what Notre Dame's favored by right now because I believe they are the favorite, betting favorite. So let's see. We've got Notre Dame by 2.5.
Ooh,
So yeah, that 20-17 to be right around there, my pick. Now, Ben,
yes.
Ohio State is only favored by 5.5 after what they've done to Tennessee and what they've done to Oregon, which seems small, even for a team like
Yeah.
Texas, a team that, they got one of the most talented rosters on out there, like we've been saying. But the other thing that's interesting in this one, I was checking some numbers beforehand. These are going to be the two best pass defenses in the country in terms of what they allow yards per pass attempt. Both Ohio State and Texas allow like 5.5 or 5.6. So that's something there. But the other thing too is just like, yeah, the way that Texas starts games, I think it's going to lead to a very high scoring first quarter, first half maybe. I was checking into this too. Texas, Ben, is a top 10 scoring offense in the first quarter. In the second half, 72nd.
Mm.
So the numbers do line up with like what I feel like I see in games. It's like, why is Texas so good on the script, but just they never can like either hold the foot on the gas or like they let teams back in and make things
Hmm.
more interesting than what they need to be. They had the whole, like I mentioned, the whole reason I picked Clemson to beat them was that they failed to score 20 points in three of their last four games against teams that they were way better than. And I mean, this is
Yeah.
Ohio State, like freakish alien like Ohio State now. I think that Texas will have the talent to hang with them at least in the start of the game, but I think Ohio State's going to pull away in the second half and make this final score look potentially embarrassing. Nowhere near that 5.5 points.
No, I agree with you. After that Oregon game, I said, and then I will look back at the Texas game. I don't think Quinn Ewers is ready because this is the difference. Gabriel, Nico, all these guys can run, they can get out, they can do stuff. Quinn Ewers is not like he's worse than Drew Aller. Like Drew Aller and Raiola, they ran a little bit on Ohio State, but they're better athletes than Quinn Ewers. I'm not saying Quinn Ewers is not a good athlete. It's just running wise and mobility, he's not the same. And if they're doing the same pass rush as they did last week, oh boy. Like at this point, I don't know how they can continue, especially if your tackles aren't 100% healthy. And we already know that Hamilton inside and Williams inside is just not fair. Tyleek is just a absolute just an animal. And then you have Caleb Downs, who's if you notice, he's not even playing a deep safety. He's playing like a deep linebacker, and he reads he reads what's going on. He's basically a quarterback. And yeah, this defense is playing great, and so I think they're going to struggle. They'll get a few big plays, kind of like Oregon did, but I see them scoring maybe two touchdowns. But dude, I don't see them stopping Ohio State's offense. And I haven't been very cocky or very confident in the last few weeks, but after seeing this team do it two times and hearing how they're talking, Texas is their reporters are trying to get them to say things, and Ohio State's like,
Hmm.
no, we're here for business.
Yeah, they
And
want that bulletin board material. They want that
yeah,
clickbait. They want that clip.
but Ohio State won't give them that, and I think Ohio State's meant for business, and I think Ohio State wins this. I'm going to go Ohio State wins this 38-14. 38 to
Mm,
14. I think there's going to be at the end of the game. It's just going to be a runaway because I don't think they can stop Jeremiah Smith.
yeah. To your point about the pass rush, Ohio State third in the country in sacks, Texas 18th. So we should see I would think some solid pass rush from both sides. But yeah,
Yeah.
the big question will be is can Ohio State maintain this pace? I think
And
so.
can the offensive line stay up? That's the biggest concern I have. Is the offensive line going to continue playing the way they are?
Hmm.
If they can do that, then they're unstoppable.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm leaning Ohio State in this one too. I'm gonna give Ohio State's gotten 40 burgers both games, right, so far.
Yeah. Yep.
Why not another one? I'll go Ohio State 44 in this one, and Texas. I think they will, like I said, hang at least to start, but they're gonna eventually get pushed away. It's gonna be 44 to 27, I'll say, is the final.
Yeah, I'll take that. Go to the national
Yeah,
title, face Notre Dame. Oh, how glorious that would be.
Ohio State, Notre
Oh,
Dame
that'd
in the
feel good.
final. Yeah,
Imagine Freeman coaching against his alma mater, James
yeah,
Laurinaitis coaching against the team he coached for. Like, I just think that'd be a great storyline for sure.
yeah. These teams have had a couple solid matchups against each other in the regular season the last few years too. So that'd be fun.
Yeah, it'll be fun.
Fun netty right there. I saw a joke. It's like if Penn State and Ohio State play in the netty, they should make it a noon kickoff just for sh kicks and giggles. Be the most Big Ten
Yeah,
thing ever.
I if Penn State made it, I'm sorry, but I just think it'd be the funny. Like, it just would be so funny. Like, just all
We
this
said
crap
that
that the
this
Big Ten's.
format would benefit teams like Penn State that have always just been like the third best in their conference. Now
Let's
it
be honest
completely
though. Let's
opens
be
the
real
door
for
for
a
them to
second,
have a
Josh. Let's
chance.
be real. If you put Penn State against any of the other teams, Georgia, Ohio State, Texas, Notre Dame, Oregon, do you right now? If you look at, tell me this right now. Do you see them beating any of those teams?
No,
Straight up,
no.
exactly.
Even right now, like Penn State is they don't beat anybody that they're not better than.
No, they don't. Like, they're better than Boise State. They're better than SMU. That's obvious.
Yeah. That was the whole thing with Brian Kelly at Notre Dame, never beating anybody he wasn't better than. But now with Marcus Freeman, I think they can do that.
Yeah, it's the way it works, the way it
hmm
rolls.
So that's the college scene. Wrapped up the NFL regular season this Sunday, Ben, and we now know all 14 playoff teams that'll be going at it in the NFL and their seedings. So without further
The
ado,
Browns.
I'll
What
go
seeds the
ahead and
Browns?
pull
What
these
what
up.
seeds the Browns? But what
They
seed are they
are
in the
the
playoffs?
second seed in the draft, at least. So
I thought they made the
that ought to tell you
playoffs.
everything you need to know.
Okay,
Now,
okay.
in the AFC, we have the Chiefs receiving the first round bye as the one seed. We will have the Bills, two seed, facing the seven seed Broncos, the three seed Ravens facing the six seed Steelers, and the four seed Texans facing the five seed Chargers. Moving over to the NFC, we'll have the one seed Lions receiving a bye. We got the two seed Eagles facing the seven seed Packers, the three seed Bucks facing the six seed Commanders, and the four seed Rams facing the five seed Vikings. Just crazy because
Ooh,
the Vikings and the Lions played on Sunday basically for the one seed, and you see the loser like how high the stakes were. Now the Vikings are the five seed and they're having to go on the road to the
they're
Rams.
the
Meanwhile, the Lions win and they get the first round bye.
they have the most wins for a team that never that didn't win their division. They have the most
Yeah,
wins ever, which is wild. And the Bengals didn't make it, which makes me happy.
Bengals did not make it. No, the Chiefs laid down their starters. They let the Broncos have their
Just
way with them.
wallop them.
Yeah, they're
Just
like, you know
wall.
what? I think that we would rather, if it ever push came to shove, we'd rather face the Broncos in the playoffs than the Bengals because of how scary that offense is. But Bengals finished 9-8, Ben. They missed the playoffs when they had the quarterback that led the country in passing
Should be
yards and
MVP.
touchdowns. They
Should
had a
be MVP.
triple crown wide receiver. And if, I don't know, if Cincinnati had made the playoffs, like you could literally say that was all because of Joe Burrow. And I think that like ends the argument. He has to. But if they don't even make the playoffs and it's 9-8, and I mean, what happened in September still happened.
And also
Like
Lamar Jackson is having a great year. So
he is. So yeah, Cincinnati, like this has just become the theme with them every year that Joe's been the starter is they just ignore September and then they have to heat up to even like it seems have a shot at the end of the year, but they got to figure that out. They got to figure out how to play football in September.
yeah.
But yeah, these playoff games, Ben. Before we pick our games, it's kind of tough to pick with the bracket because they always like do the reseeding,
Yeah.
so that the better team always
We
has
can
to
just
play
do
the
we can
worst
just
team.
do first round. We can just do first round.
Yeah. Well, I was gonna say first, like Super Bowl
Oh.
thoughts.
Oh yeah, let's
Simply because you can't fill out like a March Madness style bracket
yeah,
because
true.
the seedings change. But yeah,
True.
Super Bowl
My
thoughts.
my pick. Ooh.
If you were to
Mm.
pick right now a matchup,
I would say Lions at the NFC because I just think they're freaking just crazy, and also just because Darius Smith is on there, and I kind of hope for the best for him. No, Lions for me just because of how they've been playing, and I love Coach Campbell. He's awesome. And then I would say from the AFC, ooh, I just don't like. I hate to go against the Chiefs, but man, they're like barely beating teams this year. Um, yeah, but there's no other good team really in the AFC. Um,
well, can I make the case for Buffalo?
Wait, I take that back. Yes, there is Buffalo. I'm gonna say, you know what? I'm gonna go. I'm not gonna go Baltimore because they choke. Um, I'm gonna go Buffalo because I just don't want to pick the Chiefs, and I don't think any of the other teams are anywhere near us near that. So
That's kind of my thoughts, and some
that's
of
where I'm at.
what I'm about to say will bleed into some of my picks. But yeah, I do wonder how much the NFL is going to help KC to try to get this like three-peat. That's never been done
Yeah,
before. But Buffalo, Ben, I think that's the only other team that can challenge them out here. As you said, Baltimore, they just become a different team in the playoffs. And you'd think with the way that they play defense, how they force turnovers, get after the quarterback, and their run first, that would translate to the cold weather that you mostly
yeah.
play in the playoffs. But Lamar Jackson just totally turns into a different person. And
It's
last
just an
year, you can say,
animal.
yeah, some of that wasn't all him, but he also was getting sacked more than what he usually does. And not making the best of decisions. Like it's just I haven't
Yeah.
seen it from Lamar, and I would never pick Baltimore to win a Super Bowl until I can actually see them put together a solid playoff game. But Buffalo, I had my doubts at the start of the year how good this team could be if they could even win the division due to the lack of star power they had. No Stephon Diggs anymore, no Gabe Davis anymore, and if you run through Buffalo's roster, I mean that kind of played out. Can you even tell me who Buffalo's leading receiver was this year, Ben?
Oh gosh,
He did
is it
not even
Curtis
get 1,000.
Samuel?
It's Khalil Shakur. He had 821 yards and four touchdowns. Keon Coleman, second best, 556 yards, four touchdowns. Their leading touchdown catcher was Matt Collins, who had five.
Mister No Socks.
Leading rusher James Cook, just over 1,009 yards, 16 touchdowns. So it's like they just got like all these little contributions from everybody around, and Josh Allen made.
Isn't that like
I
that? That's
think
like
I
the
think he's
most
put himself.
college stat line of all time. Like you know how in college you have a bunch of dudes that never really like are dominant, but they just all do their job. And I feel like that's what the Buffalo Bills are.
I mean, in a case like this, like they have to, but I think it also shows that Josh Allen can elevate guys around him. I thought this year would have to be that year. If they were to be like winning the division or even like a serious contender looking at the roster, I'm like, if Josh Allen is him, like he's gonna have to have a season like what Patrick Mahomes does, where he just seems to elevate all the guys around him and can win games because of him.
Yeah,
And I've thought Josh Allen has had the potential to do that, but this year especially did that. Uh, I believe in Buffalo. The defense also really gets after it. They're first in
hmm
turnover margin, third in forced turnovers, and then have the least amount of turnovers themselves, so they don't make mistakes either.
yeah.
And we know Buffalo can handle the cold weather. So
Oh
I
yeah.
feel like if it's not Kansas City, it's Buffalo. And then over in the NFC, I'm with you. I think that this is finally the Detroit puts it all together. They looked far and away better than most of the teams around them. Uh, Philly's got the 14-3 record. That's the three seed. That's also solid. Minnesota, don't let the seed fool you. They were, literally one game away from getting that one seed. They've been
Yeah.
playing well with Darnold. I think the NFC has more teams that are threats, but I think that Detroit will get it done. So I'm feeling like a
Agreed.
Detroit Buffalo, Detroit KC maybe.
Yeah.
But now working from the beginning, yeah, the playoff bracket right now. We'll work through the AFC first with these matchups. Starting off with the Bills and the Broncos. I don't think that a seven seed has won a playoff game yet, Ben. I thought it was goofy that they ever wanted to add a seven seed
It's
to
so
this
dumb.
because of
It's
how
so dumb.
useless it is. We're just wasting time, but the Broncos got 10 wins, better than some of the seven seeds that we've seen out here.
True.
Better than some of those Miami teams that aren't going to do anything in anything colder than 70 degrees.
According to Tyreek Hill, he's gone. He's done. He's
Tyreek
done
Hill's
with the
done.
Dolphins.
Yeah, goofy. But as I just said, since I think the Bills got a shot, I'm obviously not going to pick the Broncos in this one. I'm going to stick with the the seventh seed's not winning games, but Bills as a 9-point favorite right now, I feel pretty good about that.
Oh yeah,
It's a nice
I'm
story
with
for
you. I'm
Denver
gonna
getting in the playoffs with Bo Nix,
yeah.
but it's gonna end right
I
here.
think yeah, I think the Bills win by like 20. I think I don't yeah. Good job, Bo. Welcome to the NFL. I'm gonna say it's gonna be like I don't know, like 27 to like 7. No, I'll give him more than that. I'll say like 27-17, 27-14, something like that.
I also have to quickly fact check myself. Remember last year when the Packers were a 7 seed and beat Dallas?
Yeah. Oh yeah, I remember that. Yeah. Well,
That
that's
was
because
the
of the
first
Dallas
time.
Cowboys. We don't really count it. We don't really count it because Cowboys
It was
suck.
against Dallas. That's the first time.
And
So it's
according to
happened
Jerry
once.
Jones today, I posted on our story. According to Jerry Jones, that he will never stop being the GM because he bought the team. So that's all that matters now,
Hey, Jerry can put
according to
together
Jerry
a
Jones.
roster. For whatever reason, they just can't figure out how to win. They got a lot of guys I would love to have in Cleveland. Um, Baltimore and Steelers. If you thought 9 points was quite a spread, Baltimore's favored by 10. The Steelers have been very cold lately, Ben. They started off hot. We were trying to figure
Oh
out how
yeah.
the heck they were winning games the way that they were with Justin Fields, and then even made the switch to Russell Wilson. And the jokes are coming around that once Mike Tomlin guaranteed, his above 500 season, he just, decided to take his foot off the gas and just chill. This is something we've been seeing from the Steelers for a little while, is they just, for whatever reason, cool off once it gets cold. So I'm feeling good about Baltimore in this game,
Yeah.
simply
Same
because they
with
are coming
yeah.
in hot. Steelers are coming in cold. Uh, Derrick Henry and Lamar, I think, will put together a solid enough performance in this one.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm gonna pick Baltimore in this one. I'm gonna say like I don't know, 24-10, and I'm gonna say that hot take: Mike Tomlin gets fired after this game. Hot take. If you
Would
look
they
after
do
that
it?
Super Bowl, he's done absolutely nothing in the playoffs. Even though he makes it every year, or at
Yeah,
least has a winning record, he does absolutely nothing.
yeah. Consistency is nice, but yeah, it's like you gotta wonder, are they at the ceiling with Mike Tomlin? Does he have it anymore? But wrapping up the AFC, we've got Texans
Browns?
Chargers.
Oh no, okay.
Texans Chargers, and the Chargers, they're the five, are the favorite right now by 3 points. This is the number one scoring defense in the country. They solid run the football. Jim Harbaugh's done really well. 11 wins right here in his first season. Texans just I we had high aspirations for the Texans. We thought getting Diggs and Mixon was good, and that CJ would
Just
take
all
that huge
hurt.
step in year two. But at least numbers wise, I'm not saying it like these guys are in any way comparable. But if you looked at CJ Stroud's final stat line compared to Caleb Williams' final stat line, they're pretty close. CJ has taken a
Mhm.
step back. Still one of the better quarterbacks in the league, I think,
Well, I
but
just think it's. Well, I also don't think he's like injuries too. Like all the guys that he's got around him have been injured. That I
Tank
don't think
Dell
helps
is
either.
one of the more notable ones, right?
And well, and even Diggs. I mean, he was done like after like week was it like week 7 or something like that. He because he got hurt. He was done for the year.
I'm not sure. I haven't been really too tapped into the Texans, what's been
No, because
happening there.
he hasn't played since like week 7 or 8. It's been a long time since he played because
Oh
he got
yeah, he
hurt.
played 8 games this year. Yep, he did.
Yeah, and so he hasn't played pretty much the whole season. So basically, they've had a mixed match of guys all season.
Yeah, even Nico Collins missed 5 games.
Yeah,
So
so that's my point. He hasn't really had the
yeah,
same guys.
there's some reasons for that. Either way, not the Houston Texans team that we thought would be taking the field in January for the playoffs, but even still, I like the Chargers in this one. I think that how
I'm
do I think
sorry,
this is gonna go?
I just can't pick Jim Harbaugh, so I'm going to go with the Texans, and that's literally my only. That's like my only thing. Like I literally have no quality point as a pundit right now to give you
Well,
anything to go with me. I just
Jim
don't think Jim
Harbaugh has
Harbaugh.
beaten CJ
No,
Stroud 2 times in his coaching career already.
yeah, he cheated though those times,
All
so that's fine. It's fine. Also,
right.
my dad wanted me to relay information that there will be a gavel coming down against Michigan. By the way, my dad wanted me to let you know on the show.
Oh, it's gonna happen. I'm still
It's
waiting.
actually going to happen. So Well, they have to wait. I mean, they have to go through the whole. They have to go through the whole process, litigation, and all that crap, because they have to get through everything. So,
Oh, the
I
stupid
mean,
red tape and busy work.
why? And I like what my dad said is like, why would Harbaugh just all of a sudden leave for the Chargers out of nowhere?
Well, look at the roster that Michigan
Huh?
had this year. I think that had something to do with it too.
But he's also had these same kind of roster turnovers for many years in a row, where he'd be like, decent roster. It's an
Not
okay
this
roster.
drastic where you go from undefeated to with the bowl game, 8 wins. But
Yeah. But anyways, it will be
anyways, yeah.
happening. So we'll talk about
All
it when it
right.
happens.
Can't wait. NFC matchups are a lot closer in terms of spreads. Starting off with the Eagles and the Packers. Phillies -4. But as I just said, the Packers have won as a 7 seed in the past, and don't let that seed fool you again. Like they could have been winning the freaking some of the divisions in this league. But the thing with the Packers is they haven't really been able to get that big one. I believe they lost to Philly early in the season already, and they lost both of their games to Detroit and Minnesota. Like beating teams better than them has just not been like something that's happened this year.
Yeah.
I like Philly. Hopefully Saquon is full strength since they didn't give him a shot to break the rushing record, and
So
he
stupid.
comes out. Yeah, I hate that. But yeah, a fully ready to go Eagles team, I think, has their way here with Green Bay, gets the job done.
Yeah, and Green Bay just lost Watkins, their best receiver for the year, with an ACL, torn ACL. Love's bait up. So
Yeah.
I think Eagles walk away with this pretty easily. I'm gonna say Eagles win, I don't know, by like 14. So I'm gonna say like 31-17.
Bucks and Commanders. That's when I'm scratching my head trying to figure out
It's just
because the
weird.
Tampa Bay started the year hot, dude. They were beating
They
like
did.
really good teams, and they have since
They
cooled.
did.
And then Washington's one
It's
of those
true.
teams, like I was just kind of saying with Green Bay, is they're beating a lot of bad teams.
Yeah.
But I don't think they really have like that signature win that they can point to over there. Um, I'm about to go ahead and check, see how they finished the season out. Well, as I say, they haven't had that signature win. They did beat the Eagles a few weeks ago. So I guess that was the one game that they had where um they were able to beat a team better than them. But every other time, like the Bucks got them week one to start. Um, they lost to the Ravens. They lost to the Steelers. They lost to the Eagles the first time, but got them the second time. So I just wonder, like, is Baker Mayfield gonna have enough juice and grit to rally this team to a win, or is Jaden Daniels and these guys gonna get that revenge from week one? I don't know.
Yeah.
It's a coin flip to me.
No, yeah. I'm gonna go with the Bucks just with Baker Mayfield and his veteran leadership. I think that they just edge it out. I don't even know the score. Maybe like a 27-24 victory. I don't trust a rookie quarterback in this kind of situation, at least right now. Maybe he'll prove me wrong, but I just gotta go with the leadership and the role of Baker.
Yeah, Jaden's certainly talented enough to do that, but I think I might just lean. I think Tampa Bay's ceiling is higher, and they are. I'll just give them the nod with the home field advantage here. So yeah, I'll take Tampa
Yeah,
Bay as well. Which takes us to the Rams and the Vikings. Man, I remember preseason when we were picking like division winners. I really wanted to go with the Rams. I talked myself out of it because of how much 49ers had coming back, and then turns out they have all the injuries and suck this year, and the Rams do come out and win the division. But as I said, don't let the seed fool you. The Vikings here at 5 seed are 14-3, and I think they're
yeah,
gonna take care of this, even on the road. Sam Darnold in the playoffs. Never would have thought I'd be picking a team like that, but here we are, Ben, in the year 2025.
yeah. I'm gonna go the Vikings. 14 wins, like, and I would hate to have to play them. But yeah, I'm gonna go Vikings here, and I think it's gonna be close. It's gonna be like maybe like 28-14, 31-14, something like that. That's what I'm gonna go with.
Yeah. Yeah, I will throw it out that one of the Vikings' three losses this year did come to the Rams back in October. But like I said, 14 wins. Like maybe this time they get it figured out against the Rams. But
Yeah.
yeah, really good team. Not so much like that 13 win Kirk Cousins team a few years ago that nobody believed in. But
Yeah.
yeah. Hmm. Yeah, we're gonna talk NFL draft, I think, too, or at least now that
We're
we
just going to talk
know
about
that
the
the
Browns
Browns do
mainly,
have.
just mainly the Browns, and just finish up the episode with the Browns talk a little bit.
Wrap up final thoughts
Yeah.
on the Browns season. I think
Yeah.
that just blanket statement, this is the most disappointing season in
This
terms
is
of,
worse than the 0-16 season.
yeah,
This is
like
honestly worse than
when
that.
you look
This is worse
at
than that.
the expectations compared to the results, this is the greatest disparity I can remember ever having.
Yeah.
Did not go
No.
the way that we had
Uh,
hoped, the way that we would have thought. So many
mhm.
things went wrong. I know that Stefanski and Barry are getting grilled right now, and the media right now are getting all the real questions asked, and some of them are revealing answers. Some of them are just giving, the typical coach speak. But
Yeah.
yeah, not a good season, and I mean it's indicated by the fact we got the second pick. But we haven't had a first round pick in 3 years, and there's a lot of work that needs to get done. And I honestly don't know
No,
which
I
direction I
mentioned.
would even want to go.
I mean, it's interesting. I mean, I definitely one of the options I think is to trade back and get a bunch of picks. Um, but again, with the news that I read today, again, I'm going to dig into it more. But according to Andrew Barry, or at least like an interview, is that there's supposedly a setback with Deshaun Watson's Achilles, which means that he could miss most, if not all, of 2025, which then goes at that point. I believe that helps the injury thing. So I don't know if that means you can cut him and you don't lose the money. I'm not sure how that works. But then do you draft a QB? Do you go ahead and get Shadur? Do you go, because I think the I don't think the Patriots are taking a quarterback. I don't think they are.
They will not.
Uh,
No.
they won't. I believe that the Titans have the first pick, correct? Um,
Yeah, New England won
yes.
on Sunday, and that
Yeah.
knocked them out of contention.
So I don't think I don't. Do you think the Titans will take a quarterback? I doubt they would because they have Will. I mean, they might. They
Will they
might
give
surprise
Will
us.
Levis one more shot?
Yeah. I mean, I see them. I could see them drafting Travis Hunter. Like I could definitely see them doing that. That would make sense if I was not going for a
Yeah.
quarterback there. And he would fit in Nashville. Oh my word, Travis Hunter in Nashville. That'd just be like a
Hmm.
whole. That's a whole thing waiting to happen. But no, I guess for me, hearing what Garrett said after the game was very interesting. How they asked him about a contract extension. He's like, "Oh, we'll be talking about something," which makes me worried a little bit that maybe they did tell him we're going to rebuild, and if that's what they told him, then I'm just going to be like, well, there goes the Browns' future for the next 10 years. Um, I think you can salvage this by one. We should have never hired Ken Dorsey in the first place. Don't understand why we hired
Did
him.
you see
Eh,
the answer Barry gave the media about why they even hired him?
No, I did not.
They asked him like since they got it clear cut that Buffalo told them why he didn't work out with the Bills and why they fired him, and Jason Lloyd asked why they went ahead and hired him anyway, and Barry said that he deferred the blame over to Stefanski and said that's Kevin's responsibility.
No, it's your responsibility. You're the GM, dude. that's that's ultimately your responsibility on the coaching
I don't
staff.
know how. I mean, I'm sure head coaches get a say and like what
You're the
gets
one that
added to
gives the
their staff and
contracts out.
stuff, but yeah, we
I
knew
don't
that
know.
that was
I
gonna
get
like blow up.
yeah. So here, two questions I have for you. Three questions actually. The first question: does Garrett remain on the team next year? Second question: who do you think they're going to take with that second pick? And third, who do you want them to take with that second pick?
So to Garrett, I guess it depends on how much he believes in our ability to win now because he wants to compete for championships. And if it's in his mind that we are not, which
We're not.
it seems like with the roster we had, we were so close and that I can't the quarterback couldn't have been what set us down at 3 wins this season. Like there were
No.
other holes around the roster, other things that got exposed. If you can get two first rounders from Miles Garrett, Is that a trade that you feel like you have to make?
With at his age, yes. I think you have to get everything you can. That means two first rounders, maybe a third rounder, maybe an extra defensive end if you can somehow
I was
wing
gonna
that.
say we've
Like,
seen Khalil
do
Mack
whatever you
like
can.
premier pass rusher go for multiple
Yeah.
firsts before, and right now since we like I just said
At least two first rounds.
we missed out on 3 first round picks the last few years, and I feel like it shows. But if we could trade Garrett for 2 first rounders, I feel like you got to do it. I don't know.
Yeah.
As much as I love Miles Garrett in Cleveland, I don't know how much he is adding on to winning on at this current state right now.
Yeah.
I, I
And
wonder if they
especially if
will
you don't
try
have
to.
a second defensive end that can counter him, I think that also is a challenge.
Yeah, let's see.
JT Tumalau, anyone? Um, but yeah,
Yeah, I
so
will.
okay, second question.
I would love if I could have it my way. I would want Miles Garrett in Cleveland, but if he wants out, then I understand, and
Yeah.
I hope that we could get multiple firsts for him. And maybe even getting multiple firsts right now would be better for the team, but I would rather hold on to him. The second pick, though, it's like I said, it's tough to say. It's like we're more than a quarterback away. Like
So who do you think they're going to pick, and then who do you want them to pick?
I feel like they really are married to Deshaun Watson and trying to make that work. I wonder if they will. I could see trading the. I've always hated when Cleveland has traded back from early first round picks in the
This year
past.
might be though. This year might be the year.
Yeah, just because like the talent at the top, I'm
It's
not really
not.
crazy about, and
Maybe an
I don't
offensive
really know how
lineman,
much.
maybe.
Like if Tennessee weren't to take Travis Hunter first, like that doesn't feel a need right now. We have Denzel Ward and Greg Newsome at corners, um, and I feel like that's where Travis is going to play. Now, if he was a wide receiver, like would it be nice to have him, Jerry Judy,
I'll take
Elijah
Jeremiah
Moore
Smith.
in a few years? I would take Jeremiah Smith as the first receiver in this draft class, though,
Yeah, 100%.
if he was there. But yeah, even still, like if Travis was to be receiver, I don't think taking a wide receiver second overall is really all that smart either. Banks from Texas is nice. There's some other tackles that could help us out, and we could finally just, kick Jed Wills out of Cleveland. But um, I don't think they'll take a quarterback. I'll just go ahead and say that. I don't think that they're going to take a quarterback. But
Okay,
as
then
far
who
as
would
who
you
they
want
take,
them? If you don't know who they would take, then who would you want them to take?
yeah, I feel like you can never go wrong with offensive line.
So if they let's just say they trade back, who would you want them to take?
Yeah, you would have to like. There's no offensive lineman talent wise. It seems like in all these mocks that's worth taking top five right now or top four. So we trade back. Like I said, I think Banks from Texas would be a solid pick, but would also be open to depending if it was later. Like I think Donovan Jackson would be a sick pick just because of the flexibility
Oh,
he
because
has
he can play
to
anywhere,
play
dude.
tackle and guard. Yeah, and with the injuries that we have on offensive line, like just in terms of
And
like
not knowing
depth
about
and being able to play
Batonio,
multiple
we
positions.
don't know about Batonio, so
Yeah, so that'd be like if we were in the 20s, I'd say Donovan Jackson. If we're in like around like that teens to like 8 to 10 range, I think Banks would be a solid pick there. That's who I would want. Some offensive line.
um yeah, for me to answer that, I think they're going to trade back. That's just my gut. That's what I think they're going to do. And then I think with the pick, I think if you're in the teens, I'm going to go Emeka Ibuka. I think getting Emeka Ibuka and just having, if you're late teens, let's say like 18, 19, get Emeka Ibuka, a guy who can do pretty much anything on the field, very underrated in that sense. But then if it's a higher in the teens, I would say an offensive tackle, either Banks or, um, you know, any of the offense tackles that are in the top. So that'd be also like Ohio State's tackle, which I can't think of his name right now. He got hurt. Why am I blanking on that? That's bad.
Oh, Simmons.
Anyways, yeah, Cinnamons. I wouldn't mind Donovan Jackson, but I really like Emeka Buka. Or even like if you're in the teens, do you take Ashton Genty? Right, like taking a guy that can do some damage. But I really like the Emeka Buka pick into this offense with what you have.
Yeah, yeah, it's tough. Like it's nothing that's gonna get fixed in one draft, but that's the frustrating part is it's I
Yeah.
feel like we're pretty far away, but we can definitely I think position ourselves to accumulate a lot of picks to build ourselves back up this year.
Yep, for sure, for
Hopefully,
sure.
yeah. And is Judy someone that we're gonna have to re-sign this offseason too?
No, because they signed him to an extension. Remember, like a 3-year extension before the season
Okay,
started. So they have him for like 3 more years locked up.
cool. It's a guy that I
So
would have not thought would be a guy that he
he
was,
actually
but
ended up having a better
panned
year
out.
than a Cooper did. Cooper did
Yeah,
not do well in Buffalo, so he did a lot better than I think. I think Cooper's real. I'm realizing with Cooper that I think he's declining pretty quick right now. That's what I
yeah.
think
Not so bad
personally.
that we ended up trading him.
No,
When I was naming all those Buffalo receivers earlier, yeah, I did not see
yeah,
him
didn't even mention.
and
Yeah,
those
didn't
top two
mention him.
guys in it. It wasn't even impressive numbers.
No, 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 not at all.
Yeah, and yeah. I also wonder too, if we trade Garrett, where like Abdul Carter might be slotted.
Yeah, or even like getting Jack Sawyer late in the second round or early second round. Oh,
Yeah, I
that be an
think
Ohio
Sawyer could be
kid.
a second round steal.
Oh, give him a Ohio kid chance in
Yeah,
Cleveland.
I'm sure he'd love that.
Oh, for sure.
Ah,
Mm.
yeah, I think that's a wrap though. That's
Yeah,
a show.
it's a wrap of the show. Yeah, man, I'm excited. It's a great new year. We do want to say this at the beginning of the year. We said this last year as well. We do want to thank you all for listening. It's always fun. I sometimes will get a message from someone and tell me about the show, and that's awesome. Again, 2025 is gonna be great. We're 100 and I think it's 100, episode 168. I think it's today. 168
Hmm.
episodes. Let us know what you want us to do with the 200th episode, which will be the end of this coming year. It'll be like the
It'll be
200
near
episode.
the
I
end,
think it's
yeah.
gonna be like November. I think is when it's gonna come out. So what to do? Maybe we'll do a live reaction. We'll record it, but I'll share a video, and we're gonna watch some of the first episodes and how awful they were. Because they were just bad. At least with me by myself, that was terrible. It was just me staring at a camera. Which is what I do now, anyways. But yeah, I hope you guys really enjoy this episode. If you've loved watching on YouTube, go hit that thumbs up button, hit the subscribe button, hit that notification bell. Allow us to just see who really loves the show and hopefully get it out there to more people. If you love listening to us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, help us grow that channel. It doesn't cost you anything, just to literally give us a rating, a 5-star rating, and make sure you like and share it as well. Yeah, it's just a great time to get to know people and share it with others. So once again, hope you have a great start to your new year. Hope you have a great time watching some games this weekend. Stay safe out there. Until next time, we'll see ya.